Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits and welcome to another episode of Dyepot PS, the bonus that goes along with Dyepot Weekly, but is the Patreon special that ChemKnits patrons get early access to every month. And so if you want early access to videos like this, go and check out the ChemKnits Patreon. There will be links below. Last month, my patrons voted for me to play with cool tones. And so that is what we're gonna do today. But before I jump in and talk more about the video, I wanna start by giving a huge shout out and thank you to Jessica Parco, Claire, Karen Siegel, and the rest of the Fiber patrons. You'll see a lot of their names on the screen right now. Patreon is a really great platform for viewers to support the content creators that they really enjoy, and ChemKnits patrons can get a lot of cool perks like early access to videos, which I already mentioned, some behind the scenes sneak peeks, and even permanent coupons to my Etsy shop, depending on the level that you select. So again, you can find more details over at Patreon. Now, today we're going to play with cool tones. I want to use some Dharma, probably silver gray, maybe true black. We're also going to use some Jacquard brilliant blue, true turquoise, and some hints of hot fuchsia to make the true turquoise a little bit of a deeper blue. And that is the color vision, and we will be dyeing a wool silk blend. But what's going to make this video different from other videos is that I'm going to film a voiceover in advance, then dye the yarn, and at the end we'll talk about how maybe my vision is different from what we achieved. Part of the reason for this is that January has been a really hard month for me personally, and I want to sort of pour some of my heart and soul into the dyeing process and just dive and lose myself in the artistry in that. But I'm still gonna film it, and I figured I may as well just talk with you in advance, and I'll keep notes about what I'm doing if I do things differently than the way I have it in my head, but that is my plan today. I already mentioned some of the colors that I want to play with today, but the yarn we're going to use is Knit Picks Gloss Fingering Weight yarn. This yarn is 70% merino wool, 30% silk. It has a lovely sheen, and it's non-superwash. I've dyed this base a number of times in the past, but I don't think with this type of watercolory-esque technique. At least not that I remember right now. But before I get started dyeing, I do want to pre-soak the yarn in just some plain tap water for at least 30 minutes. Since I'm not worried about even color coverage, the amount of time isn't as important. If I really wanted more even coverage, I would probably soak this yarn overnight. But I did add removable zip ties to the yarn, and if you want to learn more about any of my favorite tools or equipment, you can find affiliate links down in the video description. I am sitting alone in my kitchen in front of the camera, even though I'm not going to be using this footage. Normally when I film voiceovers, I'm actually behind the camera and the camera might be pointed at the ceiling, at the floor, at a weird angle, so I know it's a voiceover, but I'm actually sitting in front of the camera. I'm not really looking at it, but I'm sitting in front of it, so that just feels weird. My plan is to add the 300 grams of yarn to my catering steam pan, which is 4 inches deep. Cover it with enough water so that it is not super low immersion, but there's space for the fibers to move a little bit. And then I'm gonna add some splashes of vinegar. I really don't think I'm gonna measure much today. And the same goes with the acid dye stocks I'm starting with. I've got some True Black from Dharma at, I think it's 1%. I don't know if I'm gonna use it. I've got some silver gray. I've got a tiny bit of Jacquard brilliant blue, and then some Jacquard true turquoise, which I might add some hot fuchsia to make it more like that brilliant blue. Something I learned from the triangle color mixing exercise. And I picked this silk merino non-superwash blend because the colors can layer together and give it a softness and a calm, and it's a release that I need, a cathartic release that I need to play with these colors and sort of, I guess, bring myself to where I want to be mentally and maybe release some of the emotions that I'm feeling. And so I don't want, as I go and start to talk about things, and this is actually the second time I filmed this voiceover because I threw away the first version, I don't want, when I'm talking about, to make you think that this is a sad yarn. It's not a sad yarn. I'm trying to put my hope and optimism and calm into maybe slightly stormy but oceany and watercolor type colorway, because I need that. And well, all right, now I'm going to just start talking and release, because I found in the version that I deleted that just sitting here in my quiet kitchen in front of the camera, even though you're not going to see me in front of the camera, and talking, just me to all of you, but really in doing this, I'm talking to myself, and that is just really, really helpful. And it's giving me another form of release that I think I've just really, really needed. January 2021 has been a really, really hard month for me. At the beginning of the month, I guess shortly, actually the same day that I posted the Patreon poll, probably a little bit after that, my grandfather passed away. He was battling cancer, for over a year, and he was 96, and he's a hero, a World War II veteran. He was a bombardier, and so the fact that he survived and we're all here is incredible, because there was not a high survival rate for people in his in his role in the war, and he was a maker. He cut stones and made jewelry and bought and sold jewelry. And if in the last couple of decades, after his retirement, if you were in Balboa Park in San Diego in the gem shop there, you might have met him. I don't know, but he worked there part-time, and it was just a hobby that he turned into a little business. And I carry that, I think, maker spirit with me. And I hear his laughter, and that really, really helps. I don't know if I'll throw in a picture. Maybe I'll throw in a picture that I found in a photo album that I had made as a kid, and I even wrote on ripped scraps of paper little captions. And in this photo album, I actually have a picture of his feet that I put a caption, "Oops," and then another one with his head, and I'm like, that's better. And so clearly, I chose to keep these pictures for a reason, but there's a beautiful one of me laughing on his lap, and he's laughing too. And I think I was probably around 9, maybe. And that's what I remember, is the laughter. But anyway, the losing anyone during a pandemic is hard. And so I know what I'm going through right now is definitely not unique or unusual, but the fact that as a family we can't come together has been hard. And also, the delay between the death and the funeral, because of the high number of deaths going on in Southern California right now, also just means that in terms of my grieving process, we've been in this holding pattern. And I guess I'm going in way deeper into this than I thought, but I guess I know that it's okay for me to take the time when I need it, and I'm not worried about whether I'm keeping up with my filming schedule. I'm actually able to keep up with my filming schedule because I filmed a lot at the end of 2020, but I know that's not really a concern of mine. I think that what I realized after not starting filming until later in January than I had originally intended was that I was harming myself, because dyeing yarn is something I love so much, and it's such a creative outlet. And one thing that kept me back a little bit was not knowing if I could be on camera without, getting too emotional or upset. And so therefore, I still don't know if maybe the January dye-along will happen tomorrow, maybe next weekend. I don't know. I don't know what tomorrow is even gonna bring. But I know that dyeing this yarn, I don't want this to be a yarn of sadness. I want this to be a yarn of playing with colors that I absolutely love. I absolutely, absolutely love. And pouring myself into something that I enjoy so much, because I really need that. And this isn't the first video that I've filmed in 2021, but when thinking about this yarn and realizing that sometimes I do something a little different when it comes to Dyepot PS, I realized that I wanted to do this technique, but also I could use the opportunity to just sit and talk and share. And I mean, this with COVID cases rising has given me a lot of anxiety. I've talked about this before, but I have been suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome for over a decade. And I'm afraid that if I get COVID, that I'm not so much afraid that I will get severely ill. I'm afraid that I would get moderately ill, but that my baseline level of energy and fatigue is lower than it has been, because I've been very thankful that although I've been suffering from this fatigue and I get really frustrated still, I've accepted my new balance and kept track of, if you know spoon theory, the number of spoons that I have, and trying to not overdo it, because I know if I push myself too hard, then I pay for it for like days or a week. And so sometimes it's not worth pushing harder than I need to. So I guess I'm just concerned that my baseline will change. And you know that, and I'm not saying this to try to scare anyone or be a downer, but I just want to share the anxiety that I've had, and how through each time we go through transitions with different semesters or shifts in our schedule, I just get anxiety. And I mean, I've suffered, the fatigue has made any underlying anxiety I had previously a lot worse. But yeah, this has just been hard. And so I'm not afraid to admit that I have been struggling a fair amount recently, but I also know that I will come through it, because I always do, and that I am working to make sure I'm doing things that I love and that I can find those moments of joy. And so my boys are all super supportive. I think Indy even knows that like I've been a little off lately, but I'm hoping that by the end of next weekend, and when we finally have the funeral, that I can, at least with some part of the stressors of my life, find a way to not magically be better, but move forward. And that hope and calm is what I'm pouring into this yarn, because I need to feel that hope. There's lots of other things that have happened this month, and there's this feeling of hope that I'm afraid to cling to, that I've been wanting to cling to for so long, for all of these reasons and more things I just don't even want to talk about, that I'm sure you can all figure out what I'm referring to. But there's this hope, and hope is what I need right now. And I think hope is what we all need. And hope that my parents will soon be vaccinated. Hope that we'll soon be vaccinated. Oh my gosh. So I just need hope. I just need hope. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess when the yarn is done, I'm going to let it cool in the pan. Then we'll wash it, hang it to dry, and I'll film some real-time conclusions and maybe talk about other differences. But I just want to thank you all for listening. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes I get a lot of comments being like about my boundless energy, and it's ironic. I did once at camp, I think probably around 10 or 11, get the Energizer Bunny Award, because I was able to just keep going and going and going. And so I used to have boundless energy. I still have boundless enthusiasm. I just have to try really hard to structure my life with balance, and I have lots of tricks and coping mechanisms to get through things. And I know, like, I know that any time like I struggle, that I will get through it. Like, it's not hopeless. I have so much hope. But anyway, yeah, it's been a hard 2021 has been hard so far. I'm already looking forward to 2022, but I have to remind myself that there's a lot I'm actually looking forward to this year. Even with all the unknowns, I have fun ChemKnit stuff in mind and planned, and I'm inspired to dye yarn and create. And so, wow, this really helped me. And I think I probably said this already, but I'm all over the place. And so thank you for listening and just giving me this platform to share how I'm feeling. I just stopped recording for a second and started recording again because I want to acknowledge that I filmed this very 9-10 minute cathartic release, and there's a chance I might change my mind about including it in the video. And so I just also wanted to film me saying that I'm acknowledging that as well. I hope that this didn't bring any of you down, because my goal is to have people enjoy color, but I also hope that hearing my reflections and hearing this therapeutic session maybe helps you understand me a little better, but also if you're struggling right now, please understand that it's not just you, and we can as a community come through this together. And I truly, truly have the hope that we will come through this and be able to celebrate and go to yarn events at some point. And yeah, so anyway, let's go see how the yarn turned out. I dyed this colorway pretty much how I said, but instead of using squeeze bottles, I did use a baster brush, and I diluted the stalks so that way I could spread out the color more. I did flip the yarn a few times. I waited between 5 to 10 minutes in between each flip. The colors initially didn't spread as much as I thought, but as the volume of water in the pan increased because I was adding more and more liquid, the colors did spread more. And I suppose now that I think about it, that did also reduce the acid content. Another thing that I realized was when you mix true turquoise and hot fuchsia, that breaks. So there's a lot of pink in the pan that I think will end up being all over the yarn versus sort of sticking with that brighter blue. And as it cools completely in the pan, that would have absorbed. This whole slow dyeing process was so soothing and relaxing, and honestly was just what I needed. I watched some goofy, silly videos and just played with these blues, blacks, and grays and layered it to create something that puts me at peace and gives me a lot of hope. Here we have our finished dry yarn that has multiple hues of blue and gray in this stormy watercolor-like effect. I am really, really happy with how all these hues layered together because technically we used, what, 2 blues. Did we use gray and black or just black? I think we used both gray and black. And in addition to the cooler tones, we used some hot fuchsia. And what I think surprised me, well, it shouldn't have surprised me. I mixed it in with, what, the true, was it true turquoise from Jacquard? I'm blanking on the name of that turquoise color versus what Dharma names their turquoise, because I used that recently as well. But I knew that mixing that turquoise and the fuchsia gives us a blue that is closer to the Jacquard Brilliant Blue. But I forgot that they would probably break, which they did, and we saw the pink spread all over. You can barely see a hint of lavender in here. I think it would be hard to call whether that is a gray or a lavender. It's sort of right at the crux of a lavenderish gray. It is a little bit more warm toned than the rest of the yarn, but I think that that brings a beautiful contrast and adds a beautiful stormy element to it. Now, since this yarn is a wool silk blend, again, it is 70% merino wool, 30% silk, that brings a softness to it because the colors absorb a little bit slower. But it also means that the colors are a little bit less vibrant than they looked in the pan originally. And this is something that I see happen with silk regularly. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I really hope that you appreciated this video. I know that I found it so helpful to just talk and share some of the thoughts and feelings that I've been having lately, and I found it really cathartic. And looking at this colorway, I feel a lot of calm and hope, and that's really, really what I needed. And so for all, part of me is like, I want 2022 to come. There's part of me that is optimistic for what is yet to come in 2021. And in that I'm talking about my real, personal life with family and our community. But I am 100% optimistic. We are going to have some beautiful colors that we create here at ChemKnits this year. And I am really excited. I have so many ideas and experiments and plans and colors that I cannot wait to play with and share with you. So patrons, subscribers, viewers, first time watching a video. I promise not all my videos are emotional like this, but thank you so much for watching and joining me on this journey and supporting me through it. I appreciate it so, so, so much. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications, because lately I have not been scheduling my live streams very far in advance. I've just been going live, and so if you have your notifications on, then YouTube is more likely to let you know. They don't always let everyone with notifications for all notifications. They don't always let everyone know, but I have no control over that. But we can try, and I have a feeling that my schedule and plans are more likely to go back to normal in the next week's month. And so if you're not a patron and you're watching this in February, I did film this at the end of January and released it to patrons then, so they had early access. So if you're confused about the timing, I hope that that helps a bit. But anyway, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and thank you so much for watching.